Hello and welcome to Colin Bradley Artcast. I'm Stephen Bradley.
And I'm Colin Bradley.
How you doing, Dad?
I'm doing well, Steve. Thank you. How
Good.
are you doing? Your family?
Good. Tired.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine.
Yeah, it is hard with two under two, but it's lovely and he's doing really well. We're getting through. The nights we're doing okay. But yes, it's very tiring. It's very tiring, but we're doing
It's
well.
it's all about routine, isn't it? When you've got something like this happening, a family. First of all, it's disorientating. You don't know what do you do first. But gradually, it falls into place, and once you get the routine going, I wouldn't say it's a piece of cake because it isn't, but it's manageable.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, and we're finding our feet with it, and he's just a dream. He's doing so well. So we had a bit of a tough time the first time round, but this time is definitely smoother. Probably we're more used to it, and we know how to be parents and everything like that now, and we've got routines and stuff established. So yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there, but yes, it is quite exhausting, but lovely in the same way. Lovely in the same way.
Good, good.
So this week we want to show the finished picture of the dog. I'm sure everyone's really keen to see how that's turned out, and we'll get to that because it looks absolutely fantastic. But before we do, we had a question that was submitted to us from YouTube and one of our students, and we thought that it would be nice to discuss it because it's a really good question, and I'm sure that the listeners and the viewers will be really interested to learn from this and from what you have to say, Dad. This is from Doreen, and Doreen said, I learned so much from Colin through his classes in Broadstairs and have sold many pictures that I have done since. However, as I age, I seem to be losing some skills and would love to have Colin's advice on a particular effect I'm trying to achieve. I am trying to draw part of a branch of an old gnarled tree in close-up, but I just don't seem to be able to achieve the colours that I desire. So thought that I would show Doreen's picture that she sent to us
Hmm.
just first. So this is on screen for you now. This is the picture that she sent over. And I don't blame her. That's challenging.
That's a hard one. That she's picked a real tough one there.
And like rocks and trees in general, but especially close up, there's no form to this that is structured, that is easy to copy.
Exactly.
So you have been very generous and kind with your advice here, Dad. So I'm going to just flash up what I think is the first
First
stage
one,
of this.
I'll tell
I
you
think
if you're right. You're right. Now, what I've done there is I couldn't do the whole thing. It would have been far too long. But I thought the idea is to create the texture. We're all about texture, aren't we? And the colours. Now, the most important thing is the colours. I will say straight away, I wasn't sure what paper Dorian was using. So what I've done it on ombre. Now, this would look better if I'd done it on pastel mat, but that would have been unfair if Dorian's going to use ombre. So that's good, but it would be better with pastel mat, simply because you've seen the tree that I did with the robin and the rocks and so on. That's done with the pastel mat where you've got the grip, which you haven't necessarily got that on the ombre. However, it's working, as you'll see. It does work. Now, another key thing here is don't overdo the pencils. It's so tempting when you've got something like that. Say, well, I better use this colour, and you end up with 20 or so pencils in your hand, and you're really not gonna. It's not going to work. Recently, when I've done similar sort of things, I've restricted the amount of pencils I use deliberately so that each of those pencils has been not confusing, because it's so confusing when you put half a dozen pencils all together. You say, what did I use? So this is simplistic, really, and that's what you need to do. You need to think like that. Now, this is the first stage. It's the base colours, you could call it, the ground colours, another word I use. Base colours is probably the better word, because it's the reception committee for all of the other stronger tones that you're going to use. So you've got to put that in first. If you don't put it in, you're going to go on to raw paper with the stronger colours I'm going to show you in a minute. Now, those stronger colours will leave a mark. I've mentioned this so many times in the past. You can see those on the right. Now, there's a couple of more that I've added as well onto those, but those 7 pencils are really all you do need. The other 2 that I'm going to show you are colours that I would prefer you to use, but you could get away with what I've got there. Now, those 3 colours that I've used, the white, the 270 and the 273, that's the 3 that is on the paper there. They're the only 3 colours I use for that, to create the base colours. So the other colours are going to come into their own in a minute. And you can see already, if you look at that picture and you look at the reference picture I'm working on, you can see it, can't you? It's working already. You can see it, how it's going to work. And that's the key to this. Try to get the feel of what you're doing, especially on a tree or a branch or a rock or anything that has that kind of it's different. It's not the normal form that you can. I mean, in nature you get this all the time. So it's got its own life, that particular kind of thing. So you've got to kind of work it. Difficult to put into words, but I think people probably understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So
it's great. Yeah. I mean, should we keep progressing? Because I feel like there's a few stages here.
Sure.
So let me just have a little look. Oh, yes, I see. I think this is the next one. Let me pull this up. So I think this is your next stage.
Yes, it would be. Yes. As you can see, we've advanced it, haven't we? We've now added those 3 colours.
Smoothed those in and added in those extra colours, yeah.
The 3 that I've used before are on the left-hand side, and the other 3 that I've just added with the colour shaper. That's important. I'll come to that in a minute. That's ivory, a 182, a 187. Now, those colours I've used actually fairly recently in another project, funny enough, and so they work well. Now, those colours are added, but when you look at them, you think, well, I can't really see them in that picture. Again, though, what we're adding is building the colour up, getting the feel of the branch. Obviously, it needs depth, doesn't it? That's you haven't got, but you can't put the depth in until you got to that stage. So that, I would suggest, Doreen follows this and does that. But I would do the whole branch. I wouldn't just do a little bit. I mean, do the whole thing, because the more you do of something like that, the more you practice, really. So by doing the whole of the area rather than just doing one tiny little bit. And it's all right to do a tiny little bit to experiment with the pencils, but if you want a structure, I would do the whole thing. So those colours are added. Now you can see on the right side of that, you've got the 175 waiting in the wings, so to speak. That's the next colour we're going to use. And you can see how dark it is. Now, if you start putting that onto the lighter colours or the previous picture, it would have been too fierce. You need something to cushion that colour. And those colours that I've given you there, the 182 and the 187, are the cushioning colours. They give you now, as well as the 273. Because if you imagine you're going to put that 175 in the very dark part of that branch there, or the tree stump. Now, if you put that in too early, it's going to be too fierce. So move on to the next one, because the next one is, we're introducing the next colour, really, which is 175.
That is this one here.
Yeah. Now you can see it. It's starting, isn't it? You can see it now. You can start seeing it build. So what you have is a kind of three-dimensional thing. You've got the light and the dark and but it's not quite dark enough. So it does need a little bit more oomph. But what I would do at this stage is work all those other colours, start building up. And there's a colour here, and I know you can't actually see it, I don't think. You might be able to on the reference picture. There's a colour there which is indefined. It's on the lighter areas. Now, I saw this, at this stage, I saw it, but until then, I didn't see it.
Interesting.
If you can pick it up, there's a colour there on the lighter part of that bit
is
in
it
the
blue?
middle.
Is it a bluey?
No, it's not blue. It's pink. It's a pink tone. It's 132. It's pink tone. I'm putting my finger on the screen. People can't see that. There we are. Now you see it. Can you see it's got a pink tint to it? That lighter area. That's it.
A little bit. Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, ever so slightly. That, I mean, you had to point it out to me though, like, really say pink, and then I knew I could see it a little bit, but otherwise that would have completely passed me by.
But you've got to do that if you want to reproduce it. But if you look at mine now, it's pink less. Do you know what I mean? There's a pink then. It's not there, is it? And this is when I saw it. I thought, now we've got to do it. Now, the last one that you're going to see is the one, I'm sure it's the last picture.
Yeah. Let's have a look. Let's show that. I think we've got the side-by-side shot with the reference picture as well.
There you are. Now you see the pink. Now you can see the pink, can't you? You can see the
absolutely.
Pink in my picture. You couldn't see it before. Now, I would have loved more time. I mean, I was a bit rushed today. I had to do this very quickly because I've been out and about. But I wanted to give enough information to Doreen so she could have a crack at it herself. And where's the black? Now, the black, you can just pick the black up, and I still wonder whether I do need that. I put it in for effect, give it a little bit punchy, but I feel that if I was doing it again, I probably wouldn't use the black. I certainly wouldn't use the black if I was using pastel matte, because pastel matte gives a richer and stronger tone. So these are tips.
Really interesting, and that pink really has brought it to life a little bit, but also the shading and those darker colours, that almost that second stage where you added the third stage where you added the 175, that just immediately just gave it form, because you had that three-dimensional effect. But that's so fascinating to see you produce something so tricky.
Absolutely. But if you strip what I've just said back and take off the colours, go backwards, you can see where the original tones and how important a role they're playing in the finished picture.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's a lovely picture, and I wish Doreen all the best. Take your time with it. It's going to be quite a long time you need, and you need patience. Go back over things that I've done in the past, rocks maybe, and that's another thing. The elephant, and the elephant I did. I'm thinking of things related to this. I did the elephant and the rocks and background, and that there was very similar colours to that.
Yeah,
So
yeah, it is ringing a bell. Yeah. Well, fantastic. Thank you so much, Dad, for showing that in such depth. And I hope those pictures have helped us. You know, we could have just talked about it, but with those illustrations of you actually doing the build up, that's provided a lot more context. So I really hope that helps. Obviously, let us know how you get on and how you find that. And I hope that's been interesting for other people watching and listening as well, because that's the point of these podcasts, to try and help everyone as much as possible. Now, I want to show the finished picture. Let's move on to the dog. Let's show this finished picture on screen. And for those that have been keeping up with the progress of this, and man, can you see the difference that pastel matte makes on a picture immediately on this final effect? I know this is a bit different, this kind of picture, but you can tell when a picture's on pastel matte and a picture's on the ombre.
You can, can't you? It's
I mean, this looks fantastic.
You get the three-dimensional feel to it, don't you? That, I mean, looking at it on the screen there, it looks as though it's real. It's actually going to jump out the screen if you're not careful. And really, this is one of the beauties of, well, pastel pencil for one thing. The choice of colour of the, when you think now, that was done the dark grey pastel matte, it's hard to believe that you get that vibrance in the tones, can't you? I'm quite surprised, to be fair.
Especially in the sky and under the tail and the light parts of the dog. Especially in those areas. But it's worked. It looks great. It didn't feel like, I'm trying to refresh what the picture was last week, but it doesn't feel, I feel like you did all the complex parts already with this picture up until like this last section. I feel like was slightly more straightforward for you. You know, you've done a lot of you've done the stick, the paws, the head, you know, you started on the bit of the grass, I think. So was it kind of this recent, like last week, was it kind of a bit more plain sailing than more challenges to get through the end of this picture?
For me, yes. For anybody doing it, no. Because when you've got larger areas, you have to make something of them. You know, for instance, the grass. I mean, it looks piece of cake, doesn't it? It isn't. It's hard because you've got to create the effect, and of course I've made it more difficult because we've got the distance there, you know, fogged out, and you might just be able to pick it up. And I do point it out on the video, just under my name, where I put my name, that centimetre or so above that has been fogged out too. Now the reason for that is because I wanted the focus to go into the centre of the area, the dog and the centre of the grass. That was the most important part of this. All of the other areas, which is vast, you've got a big sky, you've got trees, you've got the grass, but the only area of grass that is sort of realistic really is level where the dog is. Other than that, it fades into the background. That's not easy to do, because you've got to put it in, and you've got to be mindful of how you want this to look. You can't just put it in and
you've customized the depth of field within this picture to really pull the attention to what you want people to look at, which is so fascinating. And I love the grass getting more blurred as the picture gets it more into the distance. I think that's fantastic and incredibly realistic, you know, with what you would get on a normal camera. But that little trick of fogging out some areas to pull the focus, to divert, you know, not divert, to avoid the attention and to make it go on a certain area. That's really interesting. I hope that's that's a really good tip, I think, for people to pick up on.
It was a delight to do this one. I mean, really was. And I'm going to do more similar ones. I'm looking for them now. There's going to be, I'm sure you're going to find more of, what can I say, experimental, adventurous, probably is a good word.
Yeah.
Because I need that. I mean, when you get to this stage, it's like every picture. It's like all the great stars when they do films. They wanted to do a better film than they were before, and that gets more and more difficult as you go on. And it's going to be now. Now I've done this now. Everything is from the here on in has got to match up to it. I can't drop back. I can't say, oh, that'll do. Can't do it now. But one thing I have found with this one is I didn't take as much time with it as I have done on other pictures, Steve. That's quite amazing, isn't it? You look at that and you think, oh, it must have been hours and hours and hours. Not at all. Well, it probably was hours, but nowhere near the amount of time I used to. And I've learned, what I've learned is when you get it, leave it. Don't carry on. I mean, the mouth, for one thing, I was particularly pleased with that, but that was so quick to do. Only a few colours. Because once I've got, when I'm working now, I think, I do narrate this as well. And so very often in the video, you'll hear me say the same thing. When you get to a point where you think, that's it, move on. You can always go back, but I very, very, very rarely do.
Brilliant.
And I think this is something that people perhaps can pick it up. The other thing that I particularly like with this too is the area from the mouth down to the paw. That light that I've got there, it really is the light source where the sunshine is hitting that. And the way I did that, have I explained this to you before? I'm not sure I have. But I use the color shaper like a paintbrush.
Yeah.
It particularly worked with the hair. Whether we've got the hair, the black hair either side of the face. When I put that in, I was dabbing into that and putting it on the shadow parts of the animal.
Wow, that's such a great tip.
It is. Well, what's the alternative is you've got to put the pencil on and you start putting 181 on top of the white face. You could have a problem.
Don't quite have the control, the subtlety of that application as you would taking an already pre-applied mix and just putting it on there. Yeah, I can imagine.
It's a lovely way of working, really, because you're working on almost like a paintbrush and a painting, really, as well as using a pencil for the drawing side.
Fantastic. I mean, as you say, you've narrated this one that we're looking at here. This is going to be a class coming to the website very soon. I can't say very soon. There's a lot of other classes that are in place, but I'm sure this one is going to be a very popular one when we get round to editing. But I'm working on another class at the moment, which is the tulips. If you are subscribed to our newsletter, then you will know that one's coming. And if you want to subscribe to our newsletter, head on over to our website. And if you download our free guide, you'll be added to the list. But that we use those newsletters to try and communicate what projects we're working on. So the next one's going to be a flowers one, but this one will be added to the list. And we will get this one scheduled to go up on the website. And if you're a member of our website, you'll get access to all of the classes that we have currently and upcoming. So if you don't want to miss anything and you want to have everything, then look at our membership. But well done, Dad, on this picture. It's one of the best pictures I've seen you do. And I think it's purely because it's so different and there's so much to it. And you can tell it's impressive. So I hope everyone enjoys learning and giving this one a go when we release it.
Good. Well, I'm delighted to have been able to put it forward. It's very satisfying for me. First of all, I get a great kick out of the picture. I love doing it. I love narrating it. I love everything about the picture. And then when you get to present it, like I've done here, well, that's just the icing on the cake.
Lovely stuff. Lovely. Have you got anything in mind for what you might do next?
Well, I've got a picture. Yes, I'm going to do it. It's actually on the chocks, but I only yesterday came across another one. I thought, I must do this one, but I'm not going to let on what that is. And had I not put one already on the chocks, I haven't started the colouring yet, but I've got the pencils worked out and the sketches done. Had I not done that, I would have done this other one, because it's strange how they come along like this. It's almost destiny. You say, well, I think I'm going to do that. In fact, it happened with this particular picture that I've got on the chocks that I'm talking about. I had another one which I was going to do. I thought, oh, that'd be a lovely picture. And I wrestled with it for a while, thinking, is it going to work? I like it, but is it going to work? Is it going to give enough information? Is it going to be too hard? All these questions go into my head. And in the end, I thought, I'm not so sure about it. And blow me, if this other one, I saw this other one, I thought, hang on, that's perfect. Same animal, but different. But this one is a real corker. I'm looking forward to it. And
Excellent.
Once again, it's different. And people, when they see it, think, oh, it's a bit different. Done them before.
Well, I look forward to seeing that. We'll see if you've made a start next week. Maybe we can reveal what the subject might be and talk about it then. But that sounds very excited, and I know that our students are obviously going to absolutely love doing these pictures that are really going to challenge and test them, especially our more advanced students that have worked through so many of our classes. So that's fantastic. Well, we shall leave it there for this week. I hope everyone's found this really informative and interesting. If anyone has anything they'd like us to discuss, then please always get in touch with us, drop us an email or a comment on this video, and we'll do our best to talk about it on a future episode. But for now, we will leave it there for this week. So thank you, everyone, for watching and for listening. I'm Stephen Bradley.
And I'm Colin Bradley.
Enjoy your week.